So I'm pretty sure many of you are familiar with Sir Gregor Clegane, nicknamed the Mountain, from the popular book series A Song of Ice and Fire. Due to, dare I say, his iconic war crimes, he's probably one of the most despicable characters in the story. But what you don't know is that he's actually a nice guy. No, wait, trust me on this. I mean, far be it from me to justify how a man who has probably raped 10 times as many children as I have friends is actually a nice guy, but hopefully you'll hear me out on everything I have to say. So, first of all, let's begin with the most simple excuse, that he was simply following orders.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
So we all know that Tywin is a bad guy and he does bad things, just ask his son. He forced him to learn how to read. I can see Tywin ordering the death of Prince Aegon and Ilya Martell, but I find it difficult to believe that he would actually ask the Mountain to do the other unsavory activities that he does. Not saying that he probably didn't expect the Mountain to do these things, but I can't imagine him straight up telling him to do them. And even if he did order this, Gregor Clegane didn't actually have to do it, but he did anyway, so the rumour goes. This brings me to the second point, because the first point was kind of a lost cause. Much of what is known about Gregory's crimes are simply rumours, so maybe he's made out to be a bad guy even though he's not. Well, that could be true if you didn't take into account the reason why there were barely any first-hand sources for his crimes. Because they're all dead, and then in the fight between the Mountain and Oberyn he admits to his crimes anyway. So I don't think he's getting away with that, considering he pleaded guilty and then proceeded to smush the prosecutor's head in front of the jury. So the next point, and the most common theory on why Big Greg is truly a top bloke, seems to be his chronic headaches, as an excuse for his truly disturbing activities. Though, the only problem with that is that chronic headaches don't excuse hundreds of murders and worse. If this were the case, that we'd forgive someone for being a literal bringer of death purely due to a painful cerebral condition, then the death of Merritt Frey would be the saddest moment in the entire series, as he too supposedly suffered from headaches. But we live in a world where that isn't the case, and where most people don't even know who the hell Merritt Frey is. I mean, I also suffer from headaches, probably more often than most. Does that mean that I'm excused from all my murders? My hypothetical murders, I mean? So, it doesn't look like this is substantial evidence for his nefarious activities. But maybe there's still more evidence to come. Now, another possible theory of why the Mountain is the way he is perhaps because he is being warged by Bloodraven.
You can't keep getting away with it!
But the only problem with that is that blaming someone's activities on Bloodraven is like saying the devil made you do something. While he warged Bran and therefore Hodor, he probably warged the boar that killed King Robert. He warged the dog from Brienne chapters, he warged Balerion the kitten, he warged the direwolf that got killed by the stag, he warged Ghost and probably Summer too. He probably warged Patchface. I can't be sure, but he definitely warged Maggie to shoot Mr. Burns. He warged Cold Hands.
And that's a fact.
He probably warged Euron at some point. And now he's also warging Big Greg. The problem with this is that it doesn't seem to fit into Brendan's plan. Unless of course he wanted Oberyn to go to King's Landing, become Tyrion's champion during his trial by combat, get owned by the Mountain but also gravely wound him. Also, Qyburn can use his body to create a freak of nature, and Arianne can now take the place of Oberyn at King's Landing for... well, we don't know yet. I also don't think it fits thematically that Big Bird is warging Greg the Rock Clegane, as personally I feel that George is more concerned with the idea of the worst beings in the world being purely human rather than controlled by some other entity. But the next piece will prove that Greg is free of all charges, because the real culprit behind all these nefarious deeds, the arch puppet master all along responsible for every gruesome detail of the mountain's criminal record, the true villain of A Song of Ice and Fire, is Amory Lorch, his sidekick.
What? Oh, it was a brilliant scheme, but you made one fatal mistake.
We are told that Amory Lorch did kill Princess Rainey, so it would appear he was in the same place as Sir Gregor. At the same time, he too killed his victims. And in Assos, when Oberyn pops around to King's Landing, really upset about the whole sister being killed by Greg thing, Tywin tells Tyrion to blame it all on Lorch, as he's already dead, having been thrown into the bear pit. This presents Amlo as the proverbial scapegoat in this scenario. Obviously, this is because he's dead, and as we all know, once someone is dead, they stay dead. But perhaps there's more to this. In a scene that's specifically in the show, Tywin totally owns Amory after finding out he can't read. And as we all know, reading is very important to Tywin. Now it's starting to appear that no one really likes this guy, so if that were the case, if he were to do something to please Tywin, or something Tywin suggested or ordered, it would make sense that Tywin would give the credit to his good friend Gregor. So it would appear that all this time, every bad thing that Gregor has ever done has always been because of Amory Lorch. Yes, it was Amory Lorch who actually killed Beric Dondarrion 6 times. And yes, it was Amory Lorch who slaughtered the royal children and Elia Martell. But then both of them died. Or did they? Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, I think it's pretty set in stone that Amory did die and won't be coming back. But there's still a chance for Gregor. Near the end of the story, so far, we are greeted with a silent knight named Robert Strong, who is described as heckin' huge, just like the mountain, so certain evidence would point to— oh, who am I fooling? It's absolutely the mountain! So now that Greg is back and better than ever, what could his future hold as Robert Strong? Well, without taking credit for all of Amory's work, who knows? It seems clear that Cersei will choose him as her champion in the upcoming trial by combat, but besides that, we'll probably have to wait. I mean, maybe the Hound, who is definitely the gravedigger, absolutely, will journey all the way back to King's Landing in time for an epic Clegane Bowl, just like in the show. Yeah, how great was that, am I right, guys? Jesus Christ, did Cersei just pick the first 6 guys she could find? Anyway, before wrapping up, I'd just like to thank all the good folks over at the David Lynch subreddit for the positive response to my latest video. It made my day, really. Turns out not all Redditors are friendless weirdos. I know I'm not.